From Betting Weekly, because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is a new week of action. It is Monday, the 19th of May. You're with Steve Wyss and Lewis Jones today. Lewis, great to see you as always. How was your weekend? How are you feeling about the end of the mainstream season in Europe?
Oh, lots of questions to start, Steve. I like that. How do I feel about the weekend? Great to see Palace win the FA Cup. I thought there was proper limbs and scenes and grown men crying, which is always great to see when it comes to football. I think it takes you back to the reason that you fall in love with the game. I think it's like a organicness about all that, and the atmosphere at Wembley looked fantastic. And I had been laying Man City in the FA Cup in the outright most of the season, so I generated quite a bit of a liability actually going into the final. And about 2 hours before kickoff, I decided to trade out for a slight profit rather than seeing it through, just because the swings both ways were making me feel a little bit nervous ahead of the game because it was quite a big swing. So I managed, and it was the wrong decision because I should have kept faith with my Man City angle, and I would have copped the lot if I stayed true to my laying City in that market. So sort of a little bit annoyed at myself, but I did take the safety first option to lock in some profit because I was on Palace in the outright as well. So it made sense, but a little bit frustrated to in the end to see I made the wrong decision when I should have stayed through, and I'd have been it would have been a very good weekend for me if I'd been if I copped the lot. But Man City have done me great favours all season, so I can't really complain about that. And looking forward to the end of the season, looking forward to a little break, but I'm really excited for this Europa League final on Wednesday. I've got to say, it's just an absolutely bonkers match, isn't it, in terms of what's on the line? And I know we can over-dramatise sometimes what a football match means, but there is so much on the line for both of these teams. The both of them are sort of walking the high rope, aren't they, with no safety net underneath them. So it's a huge football match on Wednesday. And if you're a fan of either club or involved with either club, then it's going to be a nervous, horrible watch. But for the rest of us, I think it's a great watch, and it's going to be a really great occasion in Bilbao. A football match might not be that great, I don't think, but in terms of an occasion and what's on the line, it doesn't really get more dramatic than that, I don't think. Steve, how was your weekend?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Had several winners. Enjoyed seeing Palace win the FA Cup. I wasn't on the map outright, sadly, but I kind of, for me, it's one that got away because at the start of January, I think the whole Because We Win team, the handicapping team on the soccer, did put a pick in, and they were on my shortlist a little bit. They weren't like mega high on it. I was between Fulham, Bournemouth as my pick. I went with Fulham, and they did give me a decent run. But Palace were kind of on my shortlist, and I wish they were there. I think they were definitely pickable back then, even as early as January.
Well, that was my decision really to lay Man City instead of just taking on City at the head of the market, because I was quite sweet on quite a few of the teams to beat them. So I thought, why don't you're overcomplicating this here, Lewis. Just they're the wrong price at the top of the market. So just take a big view and just hit the lay button there. So yeah, I can totally see. I mean, I remember doing the video for that, and I think everyone put up a team of that ilk actually around that market price, I think. So yeah, hopefully a couple of people latched onto the Palace angle, because they were, I think, in the quarterfinal stage. I still think they were double figures. So some tasty bets landed, I think, from the FA Cup outright.
Welcome in, everyone. Just going through the comments here. At the end of the football season approaches for most league, will you be focusing on MLS, Norwegian or Swedish league? On this live show, we are going to be focusing on all those leagues, and also the Club World Cup. There's also international competition. I do believe it is the African Nations Cup, and is there a Gold Cup as well over in North and Central America? Don't you worry, we will not lack for soccer content on Betting Weekly Live as the summer goes through. Ming Chung says there should be a lot of goals today in the Brighton match, ? We'll talk about that match very soon. Duncan Evans, good to see you. Diski, Mbuelo Charles, Adam Thompson. He's cashed out. He's had a brilliant winner there. Eze 1-0. First goal scorer, I guess. I know it. Yeah, the combo. 100 to 1. Was it that big?
Wow.
100 to 1. Eze 1-0.
Well,
Steve from
well, quick kudos to Mr. Seeley as well, because I saw a lot of his content pre-match, and he absolutely nailed the game, didn't he? It was the same game parlay landed. Eze was to the fore. Palace won the trophy. I mean, it was just a superb call from Mr. Seeley. So yeah, he must have had a very nice weekend, I'd have thought.
Well, that reminds me, actually, Lewis, I've got to give a shout out to the whole handicapping team, really, because there was an unbelievable number of winners across the board. I mean, there was a massive one from the newsletter that James Easton gave out, as if he hasn't had enough winners all season. 12 to 1, Ousmane Dembele to be top scorer in Ligue 1. That was a newsletter pick. Simon Holden, our golf handicapper, absolutely swept the board in the PGA Championship. Every single bet that he gave out on Instagram won. So, fair play to Simon. There was loads of winners across the board. And, you got to subscribe to the newsletter. And also the Insider had another solid week. There was some good winners on there. Nigel nailed it on the Instagram in the FA Cup final, like you said. There's too many to mention, really. I saw the graphic, and it had to go across 2 pages. So that shows you how many winners there were. So incredible weekend for the channel. So brilliant work, everyone. Yeah. Going back some weekend winners from the sportsbook. On the soccer, $20,000 on Real Madrid live on the money line against Sevilla, minus 286. That was a good winner. Just looking back here, nearly 14,000 was lost. Fulham Brentford over 5.5 goals live at minus 161. Shame there wasn't a 6th goal there for someone. There were some great winners in the golf, actually. Someone had Jonathan Vegas, round 1 leader in the PGA Championship at 150 to 1. And also Davis Riley, top 5 finish at 100 to 1. And someone did the combo. Scheffler, DeChambeau, 1-2, straight forecast, 66 to 1. So some big winners across the board. And we want to start this week with some winners as well. We're going to go through Brighton and Liverpool in the Premier League. I'm going to pick Lewis's brains about the 2 Premier League games tomorrow. I've got some stuff to say about the Swedish Allsvenskan games today. And it would be rude not to round off the show by looking at that big Europa League game on Wednesday. That's the countdown to Bilbao. So we are going to be through the action today. And we start with Brighton against Liverpool. Liverpool have won the Premier League title for quite some time now, and that's why they're the underdogs here. If this match was played middle of the season, Liverpool would probably be, minus money maybe, Lewis? Evens, maybe, tops. Instead, we've got Brighton now as the clear favourite. They've been well backed here, Brighton, today, actually. I think they were bigger a day or two ago, plus 138 for them, and the ties plus 285. Over 3.5 goals is nearly minus money, plus 107 now. We were talking off air about Brighton favouritism. I did jokingly say they should be odds on here. I don't actually think they should be, but I do actually agree that they should be favourites. But I think motivational aspects is a big thing here, and also, with Liverpool, we just don't know what sort of mindset they're in. They've been rumoured to be partying a lot, and I don't know here. Would you back Brighton at plus 138 is the first question.
Oh, it's a very good question, that, because you're right. I think the motivation factor is actually big here because of the fact that this 8th place finish for teams in the Premier League could still yield a Conference League place. That's still on. So just getting to some of the permutations here. So if Chelsea win the Conference League and then finish 7th and Newcastle finish inside the top 6, or Chelsea finish 6th and Newcastle 7th, 8th place in the Premier League will qualify for Europe still. So it's obviously the more likely of those 2 scenarios is Chelsea finishing 7th and winning the Conference League. And if you're actually looking at the probability of that happening, it's not as unrealistic as people probably would think, because if Forest beat Chelsea on the final day, and there's an implied probability about 30% chance of Forest doing that at home, then if Villa, City and Newcastle all win, then Chelsea would finish 7th. So then the Conference League spot would go down to 8th as long as Chelsea win the Conference League the following week, which they're odds on to do. So I think that's more than enough here to keep Brighton very, very interested in this football match to lock in this 8th spot, which would be Conference League, which would be a huge result for any team that gets into that league. You see how much fun West Ham had in that competition a couple of years ago, and what for teams like Brighton, Brentford, Fulham, a wonderful opportunity to go and really enjoy themselves in Europe and potentially win some silverware. So, and just look at Fulham yesterday. They obviously still had the smell of finishing 8th with the permutations, and they came back to beat a very good Brentford team at home, didn't they? So they were still motivated and still up. Players and managers don't need much to keep them motivated, I think, in this day and age. And I think Brighton are going to be fully wound up tonight here, actually, and they could actually nearly almost wrap up 8th place with a win, because it puts them 3 points ahead with a game to play, and that their final game is away at Spurs. And I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Spurs in midweek, but I can rest assured that final game of the season is going to mean absolutely nothing to them at home to Brighton. So Brighton still very much got a chance of European football here, and I just think the team news here for Liverpool is going to be so crucial to how confident I play Brighton here, because even though there has been a big market move, I think, over the past sort of 24 hours, I think they were nearly plus 200 at one point earlier this weekend, and that's moved a lot now. And that suggests to me that maybe the market has got wind of Slot is going to maybe rotate like he did in the Chelsea game, and maybe then play his full strength team against Palace on the final day next week on Sunday when they can lift the Premier League trophy at Anfield. So I was interested in the draw no bet on Brighton here, but that's now minus 137. So you really have to sort of ask yourself the question, do you want to get involved at that price? And I'm probably going to swerve it, but just there's some numbers that I ran today about Premier League teams who have had the title wrapped up with 4 or more games to go, and then I wanted to look at their remaining fixtures just to see if there has been a sort of a historical drop off. And absolutely, I've concluded there has been, and this is probably why the market move has gone against Liverpool here, because there could be a hangover at play here with Liverpool, because in the last 31 games where a team has had the Premier League wrapped up with 4 or more games to go, those champions only won 16 of those 31. So that's only a 51% win strike rate. And I just think that certainly suggests there's sort of a hangover at play here for teams that win the title relatively early. So it's just whether you can get involved with Brighton at those prices. What prices are on the win here? What are they, plus 130?
Plus 138 for Brighton to win the match. And, I think I do agree with you. There's potential for a hangover in more ways than one for Liverpool in this fixture.
Arne Slot was in, I think, wasn't he? Absolutely loving life, I think. So this week. So if the manager's setting the tone, then what have the players been up to? That would be what I argue. So, yeah, I think maybe playing the Brighton win price is the better way to attack it, and just getting that bigger price, because that's just instinctively that's how I would go about it. But it's still a little bit shorter than I want. Would you get involved at plus 130, Steve? It's just on the edge, isn't it? It's on the edge of being backable, I think.
I think it is possibly a bet, Brighton to win on the money line. Not big, because I'll be honest, my biggest problem here is actually working out what a true fair price is. It's really hard to work it out. Isn't it?
Yeah, very
really
difficult.
Yeah. Without, I suppose maybe when the lineups are out, we will know a little bit better. Even then, I think it's really difficult to factor in. In this instance, sometimes you've maybe got to go with your gut instincts a little bit, rather than the crunching the numbers. And just in terms of raw predictions, I do think Brighton will win the game. That kind of maybe helps a little bit. Not that you should bet on everything that you think is going to happen, but I believe in this instance, maybe that is an angle that I would look at. Just going to go through some comments before we come back there. Jason Galvin's got some lovely thing to say about you, Lewis, regarding Mikel Merino. Interesting stuff there. Adam Thompson said it all depends what midfield trio Liverpool bring out. The Liverpool lineup's going to be difficult to know. Salah assist at plus 450 has to be the bet of a day, says AD.
Well, he's one away, isn't he, from levelling, and is it Andy Cole's goal involvement record over a season? He needs one more goal involvement to tie that record. So, and Salah is very much motivated by numbers. But again, since he signed this new deal, classic case, when a player signs a new deal, always there's a drop off in his output, and it's happened with Salah to a certain extent, I think. And there might be something to keep in your minds ahead of next season, because he is the reason why Liverpool have charged away to the league. His output at one point this season was absolutely phenomenal, and that's the reason why they've won this league, I think. So if there is a drop off next season, how do they replace those goals? Not sure. That's something to, again, these my brain just sort of whirling away in ahead of the next season, which will be a great title race, by the way. I think really tightly congested at the top of the market. So, but the Salah angle tonight, I can definitely see people who are going to look to get his goal involvements inside, onside, assists, goals. If he probably hasn't been partying too hard. I wouldn't say he's a very sort of disciplined guy. So if he starts, definitely a runner, but he's not in the best of form, Steve. So it's one of those, isn't it? I think. It's a very difficult betting heat, I think.
Same thought was crossing my mind with Mo Salah. You just know of all the players, he's probably been the most disciplined, probably been the most professional off the pitch. And you might get a reliable player who does actually play somewhat close to his, if not best, then at least to a reasonable level. There's been a couple of comments about the referee as well, Jason Galvin and Harry Doherty on about that. But I mean, let's talk about what would be your best bet for this game then, Lewis, across any market.
Well, yeah, I think Brighton are too short for me to get involved now. If they were the early prices that were available, the plus 200, and we knew that slot was going to rotate here, then that would be a very, very strong bet for me. But just going to lean them here, and I'd rather take their best player to score, I think, in this match at a very nice price, and that's João Pedro to score any time. I'd rather chance my arm at taking the bigger price here, because if Brighton are going to win the game, which I think they will, there's a very good chance that João Pedro is going to be at the centre of this. And he's plus 195 with Bet Rivers to score any time. And that's a fantastic price, because that's one of the best. That is the best price I've seen in the UK, across the UK bookmakers, for João Pedro to score any time. He's sort of trading around plus 150 everywhere else. So get some really great value on off here with João Pedro. And he's back from suspension tonight after missing 3 games from his red card at Brentford. And one of the reasons I really, really want to get him on side in this sort of spot, because he's one of these players that really thrives on the big occasion. And this is a big occasion for someone that's in the shop window like João Pedro is, I think. And he's definitely got his sights set on higher than Brighton, I think, in his career. And this is going to be on Monday Night Football tonight. It's going to be the main game live on Sky. And I think he'll want to really turn it on tonight and be fully motivated to get his team to a victory here and put on a bit of a show. He's one of those players. He carries a lot of arrogance about him. He takes a lot of responsibility the way that he plays, and sort of is the leader of that Brighton team when they want to go and put teams under pressure. So, yeah, I think he'll be looking to impress. And his goal ratio this season's pretty good. Only got 10 goals in the Premier League, but the goal ratio is a goal every 195 minutes, which isn't too bad. He's on penalties as well. He's a very good penalty taker, so that's always good to have on your side. And I just think if Liverpool are just going to drop their levels a little bit tonight, I think I'd rather back that João Pedro price at nearly sort of plus 200 rather than just side with Brighton. So yeah, I'd encourage people to have a look at that Bet Rivers price, plus 195 João Pedro anytime. Yeah, I like the look of that, Steve.
Yeah, he's also plus 120 to score or assist. He's actually one of them players that is sometimes even worth looking at in the to score or be carded market, which occasionally becomes an option. Yeah, I think I do like that play, no doubt about it. I mean, there's actually a chance, let's be honest, if this developed into something stupid like 3-2 or 3-3, would we be entirely that shocked? We probably wouldn't. At this stage.
You covered there as well then. If Liverpool do, I mean, they've got so much firepower, Liverpool. If this turns into a bit of a shootout and Liverpool get a 2-2, win 3-2, there's a good chance that João Pedro still gets on the score sheet and you've cashed. So I think I'd rather take that angle on a game which should see plenty of goals. Liverpool playing with the shackles off, you'd have thought. I'd just rather take the bigger price on Brighton's best player scoring rather than them having to do the hard work at a short price and get the victory. So I think that's probably the way to play this tonight, especially at those prices with Bet Rivers. Really nice price, I think.
There has been a significant bet, the biggest bet on the game, nearly $10,000 on Liverpool draw double chance at minus 175. Obviously, odds that you wouldn't normally get as big as that in a Premier League game for Liverpool very often. So, and that might have distorted the actual betting breakdowns here that I've got from the trader. 81% of the money on the money line is on Liverpool. 80% of the tickets is on Liverpool. That doesn't surprise me. The tickets part, a lot of bettors out there will just look at the name of Liverpool and bet on them straight up. But obviously, there has been that big bet on Liverpool, which might have distorted the actual money aspect. 59% of the money on the over-unders on the over. I mean, I would go over if I had to, but I'm not going to bet it. But I'll just go over because I think it could potentially be a situation where it develops quite quickly.
Just look at that. Both teams to score price -2.75. The market is expecting Brighton to score here, absolutely, to get probably maybe 2 goals. And there's such a huge probability chance of João Pedro scoring one of those goals, in my opinion. So instead of trying to take those short prices, I think just chance your arm at the bigger price of João Pedro scoring, because it's a good way to watch the game as well, because you've always got your eyes on him. I do like backing first goal. I like backing goal scorers, because I do think you get the enjoyment factor out of it as well most of the time, especially with when you're backing the best player. So the value looks good to me.
And he's on
enjoyment
pens,
factor looks good, and he's on penalties as well. So I think it's a very big price.
I do like that bet, I must say. No doubt about it. Just a couple of quirky stats before we finish. Producer Troy gave me. Troy loves his sort of day of the week sort of stats. 4 of Brighton's last 5 Premier League Monday night matches have resulted in a draw, and over 2.5 goals has hit in each of Liverpool's last 6 Monday Premier League away matches. So based on that, the 2-2 and the 3-3 are very much in play.
There we go.
So
everyone's got their systems, aren't they? Everyone's got their systems.
Yeah. And there's also an interesting one for Liverpool. Cody Gakpo has scored a goal in 4 of Liverpool's last 5 Monday matches as well in the Premier League. So don't know if he's going to start or where he's going to be, but Gakpo likes a Monday night. Don't we all? Okay. Byron, just looking through the comments here. Salah was actively targeting the assist over goals the last few games. Absolutely right, Charlie. I can see why people are looking at the assist angle here. Tom Leach said he can't seriously put money on either team. But on either team bets and overs on the goals is what his lean is. Hi to Villa fan, good to see you. Harry's really liking the undercards in this game, under 1.5, under 3.5 match cards. I think the referee does have quite a high card count.
Is it Andy Madley, the referee?
I think it might be someone. Yeah, he's got a very high. He's got a high average card count, the referee. But at this stage of the season, refs can sometimes keep the cards in the pocket. That's what I tend to find. Brooks, John Brooks, is it?
Oh, John Brooks. Oh, okay. Well, I would stay clear of the underline then. He likes to flash them, I think. And there's quite a lot on the line for Brighton still. I think they'll play with intensity. I don't think this will be an end of season vibe. I don't think. I think Brighton will be full throttle going for it, and they've got lots of card murder. João Pedro's a very tricky player. Matoma, if he's fit, is a very tricky player. A lot of card drawers there, and we just did Brooks in charge and with something on the line for Brighton. I'd probably stay clear of the undercards angle, but I do like it at this time of year. You're absolutely right, Steve. When the prices are right, I think it's copped to a couple of Premier League games this weekend. I think it copped to Everton, the unders line. I think the Leicester game might have copped as well for unders. So yeah, definitely one to keep on side for the final day. I think undercards. We can get on some early prices before the market reacts. There's some really good angles to exploit there.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. Dan Roebuck is in the house. Good to see you, Dan. And you can, of course, watch the Premier League show with Dan, Nigel, Jack. They've got the mismatch previewed as well, in addition to the 2 games tomorrow. So we're coming at these games from all angles this week. Europa League final as well. And we go into tomorrow's matches now. Manchester City against Bournemouth. Man City, a team that you've been fading quite a lot this season, Lewis. Bournemouth are a team that you've really liked this season from the shows that I've done with you. You can get them at plus 525, Bournemouth, to win this match. But we are in a motivational position again. Manchester City, and there's a lot of money at stake here for them. Minus 210 on the money line. I've honestly, Brighton have been a lot of people have been bigging up Brighton this season and backing them quite a bit. I've not seen anyone suggest they're going to get a result here, though, Lewis. Are you going to keep on this Bournemouth bandwagon, or are Manchester City going to deliver?
Well, no one's going to be surprised here about my take on this game, because I think Bournemouth are a great bet. Asian handicap, +1 hit on the Asian handicap and get odds against there. I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Plus 105. I know that the motivation factor is in Man City's favour here, but Bournemouth away from home are a team I want to get with every time they play a big team away from home, because this is what they want. They want teams. The way to fade Bournemouth is when they play at home against low blocks, against teams that just sit there and counter-attack them. They can't utilise their press. They can't utilise the high turnovers. They don't get the space they need to create their transitions. Away from home, when teams come at them a bit more, this is where you want to back Bournemouth in these spots, I think. And very interesting that Manchester City haven't scored now in successive games against Southampton and Crystal Palace, despite having 49 shots, 11 shots on target, XG figure of 4.05 and 136 touches in the opposition box, and they failed to score in both of those games. And City have never failed to score in 3 successive games in a season under Guardiola. So you'd think that bit of variance is probably going to come and potentially bite Bournemouth here if they start taking their chances. But I just think there's just going to be a bit of an edginess around Man City, and Bournemouth go there with nothing really to lose. Their record against top 7 teams this season, very good. They're taking 19 points from 13 games, winning 5 of them, drawing 4, losing 4. And this is the one I really like. They've only lost one of their last 12 Premier League away games, winning 6. Really good team away from home. I always want to get them on side when they're playing away from home. Just as I mentioned, they can just play their style a little bit more under the manager, and very good at scoring goals away from home. They're not great at scoring goals at home against a low block, but we'll take them away from the Vitality Stadium, and they're really attack-minded team. They've scored 34 goals this season away from home, and Liverpool have only scored more than them. And they've scored in 13 of their last 14 away games. So, as I mentioned, I don't think you need to overcomplicate it here. I really like Bournemouth with the plus Asian start here, with a 1-goal start, odds against plus 105. I just think that's a fantastic bet to exploit, I think, with Bournemouth. When I think the situation is going to suit them here. I think they're going to get the chance to really hit Man City in those transitions. And City, again, I mean, they have tightened up recently over the past, I'd say, probably 8 games or so with that Diaz and Gvardiol centre-back partnership. But Crystal Palace, they exploited them in transition early on in that final. And I think in the second half, there was loads of opportunities for them to go and score again, and they just didn't get that final pass right. Bournemouth very good at putting these fast breaks together, these counter-attacks. Semenyo, Kluivert, Evan Nilsson holds the play really nicely. They get forward in numbers. They put you under pressure. So yeah, I would not put people off having a swing at Bournemouth at big prices on the money line here. I think they're a live outsider, but for a more shrewd way of probably getting them on side, +1 on the Asian line, yeah, plus 105. I think that's a great bet, Steve.
I actually owe Bournemouth an apology here. They are still very much in play to finish in 8th position. Yeah. For some reason, I thought they were only on 50 points, but it kind of is win or go home. But all
depends what happens tonight as well. If Brighton get beat, then it opens it up for Bournemouth even more. So, I think they've got a great chance to get a result tomorrow. I think.
Yeah, no doubt about it whatsoever. Manchester City, they are struggling for goals as well. Recently, we know they blanked against Southampton, Palace, laboured past Wolves even. And even before that, it wasn't looking great for them.
It's been awful to watch. They've been awful to watch, Steve. Honestly, he has gone back to absolute prime Guardiola control in terms of controlling the hell out of a game in order to not get hit by the transitions. And it's just they've taken everything away from their attacking play for it, I think, and just been so predictable and boring and sideways to watch over the past 10 games or so. And yeah, they've got to change that next season. You can't. I don't think you can do that anymore in the Premier League. I think you have to play with a bit more oomph and physicality and transition based and get more power players involved. And it's really interesting times for Guardiola at Man City, I think, for next season, because you can't keep playing this way and more or less coaching the fun out of a lot of those footballers that play for Man City. Look what's happened to Jack Grealish. He's a completely different player now since he's gone under Guardiola's watch, which is a ridiculous thing to say because Guardiola is Guardiola. But in terms of those maverick players, the likes of, Doku, has he really kicked on under Guardiola? No. Savinho's got a good future, but he's looked in and out this season. Just, I would worry a little bit about those attacking players under this manager in this modern day game, actually. So, yeah, a little bit of worry for Guardiola's style moving forward, but he's obviously an absolute legend of the game. He can probably work it out, but still, yeah, there's not been much signs of it recently.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's ruined the Yorkshire Polo, an absolute shadow of what he was at Leeds. Calvin Phillips. Wow, that's a great example. Yeah, you spot on. It just kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of the game. Quite a few mentioning Kevin De Bruyne here. It's his last home game for City. I mean, I don't see him getting on penalty duty though, to be honest, unless they're well clear in the game. Only one man's going to take a penalty kick now after the weekend, surely.
Too much on the line for City now. They won't. Yeah. They won't. Yeah, they'll treat the game not like an exhibition. This is going to be full guns blazing to get into the Champions League. So I can't see any sort of heartfelt tributes to De Bruyne by letting him take penalties. And so, even though, to be honest, Haaland and Marmoush I think they've missed their last 2 penalties, haven't they? So maybe De Bruyne is due a turn. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens with De Bruyne actually in the summer, because he's someone that could fit in somewhere still in the Premier League, I think, and do a very good job given the right role, I think, because he's still got that final ball quality. Absolutely excellent, isn't he, in the final third at making those right decisions still. And if you put him in a team where you can get legs around him still an absolute player, I think, at this level. So I'll be really interested to see, and I hope he stays in the Premier League. I know his family want to stay in England. He's settled with his family up in the northwest. So hopefully someone like Aston Villa, maybe that'd be a really good.
Well, he could go across the Pennines and have a change of scenery there. He'd be most welcome.
Leeds.
Yeah, he'd be most welcome here. We could do with a little bit of extra technical quality. So the doors are always open, Kevin. But yeah, we'll see how it goes there. If De Bruyne scores, it's because he's Kevin De Bruyne, and not because he's going to be gift wrapped it on a plate, in my opinion. But he's obviously top quality, could very much get on the score sheet. It's going to be a celebratory mood down in London. Crystal Palace against Wolves. Palace now plus 150 to win the game. That might have actually changed. I'm going to check the latest prices. It still is plus 150. Wolves plus 185. Jack Wright has his hot dog in this game on the Premier League show. I'm not going to reveal what it is. You've got to watch that. I'm sure many of you will know already. This is going to be really interesting what sort of state Palace are in. I've got to say, Lewis, it's a harder match to handicap. I don't know if you could dig us out a bet for this one.
Wow, yeah, seen some of the social media clips of some of the players over the weekend. Will Hughes down in pints, like going out of fashion. You've got Dean Henderson completely off his nut on the microphone, serenading the crowd. So how many hours have they had? Are they going to be recovered in time? Possibly. The feel-good factor is going to be off the scale at Selhurst Park, isn't it? I mean, those players now are going to be treated like heroes, like gods for the rest of their life. Whatever they do in the rest of their careers, they will always be so welcome at Selhurst Park, and they've got cult hero status there. So could be some sore heads, I think, based on the celebrations. But I think the party atmosphere actually may help Palace here, especially early on in the match. I think there'll be a lot of feel-good factor, as I said. They'll just want the team to attack. They want to go and just put Wolves under pressure, and if they concede, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Let's just go and try and enjoy the occasion. And I was actually surprised about the prices on offer for a Palace first half goal here. Just to think, with the momentum and the party atmosphere here, we can get odds against for them to score in the first half. So over 0.5 first half goals for Palace, plus 105. I thought that was quite an interesting angle, considering that you'd hope that the atmosphere will be great and they'll be pushing from the first whistle, and they'll just probably play very un-Palace-like style. I think they don't need to sit in their low block and counter-attack in this game. They can probably release the shackles, try and have some fun. And the first half goal, I thought it's overpriced. So that'd be the way I'll be looking to play it. And again, probably the over 2.5 line probably is a runner as well in what very end of season feel, and there could be quite a few goals. I think there's lots of good players on show, isn't there? If Eze plays and Mateta plays and Cunha plays, lots of ability players still looking to try and impress as the season winds down. So yeah, I'd probably favour the over 2.5 line here. But the Palace to score in the first half over 0.5 goals plus 105. I thought that was too big actually, Steve. There, so that's quite an interesting angle to take. But again, I'd probably want to know the lineup, because he might just rest all the big guns, and then we're probably in a bit of trouble. So I'll probably wait till team news before pulling the trigger on that one. But I think that odds against was very, very, very generous, I think.
Yeah, just looking through the comments here. Nigel's in the house. He likes a Wolves draw no bet. Is a cracker in his opinion there. And Steve from Lynn actually is thanking Nigel for his picks over the weekend. Adam Thompson's going in for Eze again. After his 100-1 winner at the weekend, he's going 50-1 this time, 1-0 Eze. It's going to be... I mean, I'm just looking at the table now. Wolves actually, with a win, can certainly secure themselves a top 14 place and probably get themselves in a good position to finish 13th. Now, that might not sound a lot, but there is a lot of price. I think there's a 5 million, 6 million difference in prize money in the Premier League. And, from nowhere, they could finish as high as 13th, Wolves, from being 17th pretty much all season.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job, hasn't he, Pereira? I did not see that coming. Whether he can sustain this long term, because he's got a bit of a short-term record everywhere he's been. Little bit on the fence about that next season, but the Wolves fans are liking what they see, aren't they? Get the points and get the pints. That's his motto, isn't it? So the fans have really, really latched onto that, and he's got them very well organised. He's a very good manager at getting a team organised. But if they lose Cunha in the summer, again, where the goal's going to come from next season for them, I'd have a little bit of a coldness about them moving forward under that manager, because he's very combustible, I think, and he falls out with players quite easily when things start going wrong. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have a bit of a slow start next season. But again, this is where my brain's going, Steve. I'm thinking about next season. I shouldn't be already, but I'm already thinking about what teams are going to be flourishing next season. This is such a interesting league, the Premier League. It's not really much between many of the teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
Between you could probably say all 17 that are remaining in the Premier League this season. There's not actually that much between them, really, on any given day. And it's making for a really interesting a league, and all the best to Leeds next season for trying to break into that, I think. But again, we'll come on to that in pre-season, I think.
You've always got to think ahead. That's what I will say, Lewis.
Yeah.
Always, absolutely right. And Nigel's right. It could possibly be the last home match for Glasner. He has been linked with several big jobs across Europe. I think RB Leipzig were the last team I saw.
That's the one
he doesn't want to work with Jurgen Klopp, though, apparently. Doesn't want to work with Jurgen Klopp.
Well, that would make sense. You can't have someone like that over a legendary figure like that in a decision-making role above you, I think. I think Glasner's too good to have Klopp above him, if that makes sense. He would need to do his own thing. Spurs should be looking at him all day. I think it would be perfect for Spurs next season. If they wanted to go down that route, I think he'd be great for them.
Steve from Lenesi, first goal scorer in the cup, was a great one. Absolutely right. Nigel nailed it with him. I am going to finish the show with some Swedish talk in the Allsvenskan, but there's a massive game on Wednesday, Europa League final between Spurs and Man United in Bilbao. And I can reveal now we're going to have Betting Weekly live on Wednesday, myself and James Eastham. And then later in the evening at 7:30 UK time, we are going to have a live betcast in play. And it's going to be me, James, and Nigel. So we're going to go through the lineups, pre-match prop bets, everything like that. And then in play, we're going to talk you through it, stuff like that. It's a great chance to join in, ask us as many questions as you want. A great chance to get James Eastham grilled on a few things as well. He's had a fantastic season. It'd be a really good opportunity for us to have a lot of fun and hopefully make quite a lot of money in play. But Europa League final, and this is a massive build up to this game on Wednesday. Tottenham against Man United. I did a newsletter pick on this today, and it's really close in the betting. Plus 190 for them. Man United plus 148. The ties plus 230. Over and under 2.5 goals is pretty much a pick 'em. Both teams score yeses, even minus 143. I mean, in the 3 league meetings this season, Spurs have come out on top. The 2 league meetings and the cup meeting, Spurs have come out on top. There's some suggesting that has Ange got the wood on Man United? And it's been one of them weird years where teams that haven't won cups or don't win trophies very often have actually prevailed. I'm starting to think, is this going to be Spurs' year? I can't decide a winner here, Lewis, but I'm really interested, how you think this is going to pan out in terms of a tactical perspective, but also from a betting perspective. What could we be looking at potentially to make a profit?
Oh, it's such a confusing game, this one, Stephen. From a betting perspective, the outright market, honestly, has tied me in knots all weekend. I've been taking an early look and trying to base what side I'm going to come down on, and it's really difficult because their form in the Premier League and the Europa League are just so contrasting, aren't they? Both of them. Man United in the Premier League average 1.14 goals scored per 90 minutes, and they've scored just 5 goals in their last 8 games. Then you look at their Europa League form, averaging 2.5 goals per game this season. They scored 19 goals in their 6 games in the knockouts with Real Sociedad, Lyon, and Athletic Club. So, I mean, that's confusing enough as it is. And then you're throwing Tottenham into the mix as well, who are just such a confusing team to analyse because they are such a different team when they can play their back 5. When they've got the goalkeeper, Vicario, you've got the right back, Porro, Van der Ven, Romero, and Udogie. When they start under Postecoglou, honestly, their record is frightening. They have won 18 of those 30 games when all 5 of them have played. They've lost just 6 times. So if you were converting that to points per game ratio, that's 2 points per game they've won with that back 5 playing under Postecoglou. And if you translate that over a course of a Premier League season of 38 games, you get to 76 points, which would be enough for them to finish a clear second this season in the Premier League if they had the back 5 all season. So despite being 17th in the Premier League, Postecoglou probably has got an action as a we've got some pretty strong evidence here to suggest that this Spurs team are actually one of the best teams in Europe when the back five are fit. It's just honestly bonkers, isn't it? Considering they're 17th in the Premier League, you have to put a lot of weight and a lot of respect on that back five. Van der Ven is probably one of the best centre-backs in Europe and plays exactly how Ange wants to play. He gives you the insurance policy of being able to run back. And him and Romero are just going to eat Højlund for breakfast, aren't they? I mean, Højlund at the moment is completely hindering this Manchester United team in forward areas. He doesn't score goals, he doesn't run channels, doesn't hold the ball, doesn't win duels. He doesn't do anything, this centre forward. I might as well be up front for Man United and just get in the way, to be honest, because that's exactly what Højlund's doing at the moment. So it's a really, really difficult game to try and come down on a team, because can you trust Tottenham really? Probably not. But then that back five playing, the numbers are there. They're one of the best teams in the Premier League when they got the back five. So, and they're all starting. So, and they've shown it in Frankfurt, in Bodo. They've played brilliantly away from home in those matches. So the closer it gets to the game, I am starting to think this might be Tottenham's to win here, and they could finally end this trophy hoodoo. But I can't back them at the prices. I just can't. I need a bigger price. So I just think the plus 230 for the draw probably is the way you need to play at the moment. I just think, just 3 of the last 4 Europa League finals have ended draws. There's so much on the line. It could be a very risk-free game. So much jeopardy, just because of the riches on offer from the Champions League qualification. Just feels like a bit of a championship playoff sort of vibe where there's so much money on the line, and they're always low-scoring, tedious games. So would not be surprised if the tie after 90 minutes is the way to play, and that could probably cop a 1-1, 0-0, both in play, I think. But it's just that Tottenham stats with the numbers with the back five really keep gnawing away at me, Steve. So the closer we get to kickoff, I might put my faith in Tottenham with that back five, and just the fact they might be able to stop Man United in this, who are just terrible going forward when they get the ball in the box to Højlund, who is so off form at the moment, and it just looks completely uncomfortable playing in that role. So yeah, it's a great game. Not one I'm glad I don't have any interest in any of the teams from a emotional point of view, because they're going to be in all over the place, these fans, with what's on the line. But a really interesting game to analyse, but a horrible one as well, I think, Steve. But I'm starting to get close to thinking Tottenham. This might be Tottenham's year. Yeah,
I know where you're coming from, and I think very similar to you. I was doing the video for the newsletter today. I think it's going to be a tight game. I talk in the video about potentially Spurs win on penalties at 10-1. That is a market offered by Bet Rivers. Either team to win on pens is actually 10-1.
That's the one. I think that's the bet. I think either team win on penalties. I'd rather take that bigger price than the draw. Always like to chase that bigger price, because I just think even in extra time, if it's 1-1, 0-0, no risks are going to be taken. It's going to be horrible to watch. The season's on the line. Manager futures are on the line. Probably whether people at the club who work at Manchester United, they're just the general staff members. Their jobs are going to be on the line, because if they don't get Champions League football, there's going to be more redundancy cuts probably at Manchester United. So much on the line. It feels like a playoff final, and playoff finals always tend to go down this cagey route, don't they? So it's completely with you there. I really like that 10-1 either team on pens. That'll be getting some of my money, I think.
Yeah, like I say, we're going to cover that game on Wednesday, Betting Weekly Live, and then the live betcast as well. Tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live, we've got Nigel and Dan are going to be looking at Premier League. I'm sure they'll probably talk Europa League final in addition. It's a massive build-up, and we're going to get you some profit on that game, I'll tell you now. So, yeah, I'm going to let you think about your best bet of today, tomorrow, Wednesday. And I'm going to go through this Swedish Allsvenskan. There's 4 matches today. These are 1 p.m. Eastern. One of the matches is actually at 1:10 Eastern. Don't ask me why the Elfsborg game kicks off 10 minutes later. I think it's for TV, but I do have a betting suggestion in all these games here. The first 2 matches is a goal scorer suggestion. Mjällby against Brommapojkarna. Mjällby are missing 2 of their 3 first choice centre backs, so I've got to go with a big target man scorer anytime for Brommapojkarna, someone called Ezekiel Alado. Plus 205, big target man striker playing against a makeshift centre back pairing or trio. That's an absolute no-brainer bet. Sirius against Norrköping, another striker I really like, Noel Millerskog for Sirius. Really annoying game, this one. I like the goals. I quite like Sirius, but I can't back them at the prices. Sirius should not be minus money to win the game. and the over line. I was really disappointed here that the Asian goal line for Sirius Norrköping is over 3. But I do like goals, and I do like Millerskog to score here. Big doubt about Norrköping's top striker, Christopher Nyman's fitness. So you might want to wait on the lineups there. Degerfors, IFK Gothenburg, for me, the best bet of the day, over 2.5 goals, -113. Both goalkeepers are awful. Potentially, if Degerfors' goalkeeper's ruled out, then the backup's not very good. And IFK Gothenburg have got a fella in goal called Bishashari at the minute. Genuine Poppadom hands. He's letting everything in. Scored a ridiculous own goal at the weekend. Gothenburg are under pressure, actually. One of their fans came on the pitch at the weekend and tried to punch an Osters player. It was a ridiculous incident, so there was a lot of hype around that. But I do like over 2.5 goals based on the goalkeeping, based on the open style of Degerfors. And then the final game there, Elfsborg-Djurgården. And I might actually get your opinion on this game, Lewis. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you about the teams. It's about a line. I cannot decide between Elfsborg money line at +110 or the -1/4 Asian handicap at -127. Tough decision. It's one of those where I think I would lean actually to the -1/4 ball. Do you ever have that where you just...
always.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so difficult, isn't it, to go to make the mind up on what line to take. I think it's it's a thing that I'd struggle with, to be honest. Actually, I always overthink it, I think, and sometimes you just got to go with how I think you've made the case. You've obviously, that's the line you want to take, and then I just think sometimes you just got to let your gut instinct take over in that situation about what line to take and what you feel most comfortable. I'm notably a bit more aggressive. I don't like to take the bigger line, so I would probably take the money line. But I think you just got to just do what your gut says. I think in that situation, but I struggle with that. It's one of the things I struggle with in terms of trying to decide how to attack an Asian line or a money line. It's very difficult to know how to go. I haven't quite worked that out yet, but we're always learning, aren't we?
It's really difficult. And sometimes it's obvious, but I think in this, Byron, I'm going to lean with you there. I think -1/4 at -127. Anyway, the main reason I'm going to oppose Djurgården again, and I mentioned this last Monday and they did me dirty, but they've just got so many players out. They've got hardly a midfield to lean on at all. And Elfsborg that is one of their strong suits, actually. They've got strong midfield. So I think that is the mismatch in the game, which should prove the difference. They're actually +105 to win on the money line now, but still -127 on the -1/4 ball Asian handicap with Bet Rivers. That's the better bet. It does cover for some draw security. That score a treble, by the way. Alado Millerskog. And if you add Max Fenger in for IFK Gothenburg, it's been great for them. A 25-1 goal scorer treble. You could do worse than that today. I think there will be a few goals around in general, actually. It wouldn't put off anyone going on the overs. But anyway, Lewis, I did ask you for a best bet across today, tomorrow, Wednesday. What are you going to go with?
I think we've got to give one today, haven't we, really? It's I do like Bournemouth on the Asian handicap on Tuesday. But for tonight, I think João Pedro is the way to play this. A score anytime. Best price out there with Bet Rivers. Really great angle to attack. Lots of value on offer here. +195. João Pedro score anytime. I think that's the best way to get Brighton on side.
Very, very good indeed. So my best bet is that Degerfors, IFK Gothenburg, over 2.5 goals. You can watch those games live on the Bet Rivers app or website, all 4 Allsvenskan fixtures, in addition to Brøndby against Midtjylland in the Super League of Denmark. I think that's quite an important game off the top of my head. It affects the title race matches in ATP, Geneva and Hamburg with the tennis, WTA Strasbourg as well. And Shamrock Rovers against St Patrick's Athletic in the Irish Premier Division, if that floats your boat. There's a house special, Mo Salah to score and Liverpool to win against Brighton at +270, if you like that one. But that will do for Betting Weekly Live. We've got Betting Weekly Tennis Live coming up in an hour and 10 minutes. Mitch Michaels and Dustin Fox are in the house. Loads to discuss there. And then later on, we've got Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break. Like I said, tomorrow on this show, we've got Dan Roebuck in the host chair. Nigel Seeley's going to be alongside him, talking tennis, Premier League, possibly Europa League as well. And then we look forward to that betcast on Wednesday live with Europa League. And I can also reveal there's going to be a betcast on Sunday for the final round of the Premier League. Myself, Nigel and Jack are going to be doing that one half an hour before the kickoffs. All 10 matches at the same time. We had a lot of fun doing that last year. So do join us on those shows. They're already listed on the live section of the channel. But Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more content with you this summer on Club World Cup, stuff like that. So best of luck for the remainder of what is left of this season.
Yep, cheers, Steve, and always a pleasure to be here. And let's find some winners.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday for Betting Weekly Live and the Betcast. Remember to gamble responsibly. See you next time.